The world premiere of The Ghost of Versailles, the first new work staged at the Metropolitan Opera in New York City in almost a quarter century. Its composer, John Corigliano. This year, his first symphony was also performed. It's about and dedicated to the victims of AIDS. Now, John Corigliano may not be a household name to most Americans, but he is a composer, an American composer. He uses his music to reflect the world around us and also the world inside his mind. A place of imagination, of some sadness, and lots of fun. Here's what it looks like.
You can dream, you can just dream the wildest dreams, and they'll find a way to do it, and they have.
And they have at the Metropolitan Opera. John Corigliano's Ghost of Versailles plays in two worlds.
I said, can you put me in a world that has no sense of any particular music that should be written for it? A world of smoke, a world of haze. Can you find me that world, and then I'd like to look like a telescope looks into the past.
Corigliano and his librettist William Hoffman have taken real people of the past. The French playwright Beaumarchais created a revolutionary character, Figaro, and Marie Antoinette, who lost her head and crown in the revolution.
And the plot that Billy invented was this. Marie Antoinette and Beaumarchais had been in this as ghosts for 200 years, living in the theater in Versailles that she built. And he's been courting her for 200 years, and she's been complaining about her loss of head and empire for 200 years. And to both woo her and to cheer her up, he brings back his characters from the barbarous villain of Figaro, brings them back to life, and sets them in the middle of the French Revolution with a plot to save her life and free her and change history. And if he changes history, she will never have the French Revolution. She will be free.
And have her head.
And have her head, right.
So here you're doing more than a ghost story. Here you're raising the question of what if.
What if?
There are always what ifs in life. For John Corigliano, it is what if he had followed the advice of his father, the late concertmaster of the New York Philharmonic, not to go into music.
Well, he wanted me to be a lawyer or a doctor or, you know, some profession that had a guaranteed nice income and a kind of relaxed job that he thought was relaxed, because he saw the world of music as kind of chaotic, and especially composing. I think maybe I did it to rebel, because he felt that the world of composing was the lowest of the low, because he said, musicians don't want to play your music, audiences don't want to hear it. You know, why are you going into this thing? And
well, why did you? What was the answer you gave him?
Maybe because he didn't want me to. I don't know. I had a feeling, you know, that a lot of it was rebellion at the time. But the other thing was that I really was fascinated by American music.
But aside from what your family or your father felt about it, there was really a tough road ahead in composing, because, let's face it, classical music isn't all that popular.
Right.
And very little of contemporary classical music fills the concert hall.
Correct.
So you had two strikes against you going into it.
That's what he said. You're right.
Hmm?
You're right. But I loved it, and I did it. And I'm glad I did. And in fact, I've seen the climate change in my life, which has also been a nice thing. That when I started composing, people hated new music. I mean, I remember not just, I mean, I'm not talking about my music, because mine wasn't even played, but anything that was played, if you had a new piece in the program, you had to sandwich it between two war horses for the audience not to flee. And even then, half of them got up and left.
Today, people are lining up to listen to John Corigliano's music. At a record store in San Francisco, fans were buying his Symphony Number One, a bestseller.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
I'm Lily, and it's a pleasure to meet you. I heard it last night. It's just really thrilling. I even had my program in the car. And
Last weekend, crowds came to hear the San Francisco Symphony perform Corigliano's work. It was inspired by the AIDS epidemic and the friends he has lost. Before the concert, Corigliano went to see the Names Project, quilts bearing the names and keeping the memory of those who have died of AIDS.
I made my own quilt, in a sense, because music, you see, has the ability do what the AIDS quilt did. That is, has the ability to be vast and enormous, as that huge panorama quilt is as you walk around it, and yet intimate, because every time you look down at a panel, you would see an inscription written by a loved one. Well, music has the ability to be both of those things at the same time. A great symphony can be vast and enormous and yet have tremendous intimacy.
In the end, the composer has to be of his time or her time.
Right.
And that's how this came about. The Symphony Number One. It is a piece of our time.
Well, unfortunately, it's a piece
Unfortunately,
of
it's
our
a
time.
tragedy, but it is there. And
It
that
is
is
a piece of our
what
time.
music is about.
I will be very happy to see this piece. You know, I only called it Symphony Number One. I did not call it an AIDS symphony because I believe the piece should exist as a symphony, just like Symphony Fantastique does and the Leningrad Symphony, which was about tragedy, too. But I will be very happy the day that this symphony will be played on its symphonic merits and as a memory of things that happened in the past and not that are still happening.
In the past, kids went to school in the United States, and there was always the music class. There was the teacher at the piano. You're learning to do do, re, mi. And a lot of that is disappearing.
Sure.
Budgets are being cut.
It's terrible.
What's being lost?
Everything. It's very hard for people to be associated with music, so-called classical music, if it's alien to them all their childhood, and they have to grow into it by the time they get into college.
So is there a future for the kind of music you write?
Oh, absolutely.
And you can hear it in the Ghosts of Versailles. It's fun. It's a bit crazy. Marilyn Horne in a scene set at a Turkish party. And it has a message. At the end, Marie Antoinette, sung by Teresa Stratus, meets her fate. As with all composers, John Corigliano's music reflects himself.
The truth is that composers write music, whether they were Beethoven or Mozart or anyone else, they wrote music to reach people, and today's composers do the same thing.
And for the record, John Corigliano's music did reach the public. The open-eyed audience at the Metropolitan Opera gave it a big ovation, and the critics